Greetings everyone and welcome back to another video. Today is not going to be anything wrestling related or anything along those lines. Today I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on, well, not exactly my thoughts, but talking and telling you guys how much I'm actually not a fan of the Donkey Kong Country Returns HD remaster they did on the Switch. Not because it's a bad game. I already own the game. I already own the game myself, like right here. Like, I already own the game myself, which is one of the biggest reasons why I was against it when I first heard it come out. It's mainly due to the fact that it's just, to me, it wasn't worth them making another version of Donkey Kong Country Returns. Like, it originally came out on the Wii, and then it came out on the Wii U, and then they put it on the 3DS, and then now they put it on the Switch. This video is going to be me telling you guys why I feel they should have done a Donkey Kong Country Trilogy. Like a Crash Insane Trilogy. And not a Spyro Reignited Trilogy for the Donkey Kong series. Like, instead of just remastering a game that people can just play on their Switch or on their 3DS if they own it. I mean, if you'd never bought it on the Wii U, on the Wii and 3DS, then sure you could get away with it. But because I already own the game myself on my 3DS, I don't really see the need in buying Returns yet again on the Switch. This video is going to be me telling you guys why I feel they should have done a remake of the original Donkey Kong Country Trilogy instead of DKC 1, DKC 2, and DKC 3. In my opinion, this would have been so much better than just redoing Donkey Kong Country Returns. Again, remastering that again. The reason why I say this is because these games are nostalgic to my childhood. The original DKC Trilogy are childhood memories of mine. Donkey Kong Country 2 was the very first game I actually ever played, and it was one of the very first games I actually ever completed. And it was a really tough challenge, and Donkey Kong Country 2 being as hard as it did really helped me become who I am today when it comes to, you know, playing games, finding them really challenging, but still managing to beat them in the end. And also, I grew up with the original trilogy. I played Donkey Kong Country 2 on the Super Nintendo, and I had DKC 1 and 3 on my Game Boy. I owned them on my Game Boy as well. So DKC Trilogy is just such a... They're such great games to just play over and over and over again, and they're way more, and they're just so much fun to play. I generally feel they should be remastering the original trilogy instead of just giving us Donkey Kong Country Returns, but on the Switch. You know, instead, like, oh, you didn't play it on the Wii, or you didn't play it on the 3DS, or we're gonna give it to you again on the Switch. Like, it's the exact same game. It's the exact same game that you play it on the Wii and on the 3DS, if you have. And I know it's for people that probably never owned it and all that, but I would have much preferred if they did like if they made the HD remaster slightly different, then maybe I would have been like, okay, this is passable. But in my opinion, the original trilogy should have been their next remaster instead of Donkey Kong Country Returns. Like, imagine a HD, like, a more HD version of DKC 1 and DKC 2 and DKC 3. Like, the original trilogy to me is what made me love the DKC series. Like, obviously, haven't played all of the Donkey Kong Country games, like all the weird ones, like all the other obscure ones. Like, I played the Game Boy Advance ports of the original trilogy. I didn't play the land versions, because I didn't know those existed. But again, I played Returns when it came out on the 3DS, and I also played Tropical Freeze. And don't get me wrong, Returns and Tropical Freeze are great games, but the biggest issue I had with those games is no Kremlings. No Kremlings whatsoever. If Returns and Tropical Freeze continued the original trilogy format of, you know, of Kremlings and K. Rool, then I probably would have enjoyed these games more, but K. Rool not being there is the biggest reason why I don't really enjoy the newer ones. Because how could you not love K. Rool? How could you not want him to be the bad guy in your Donkey Kong Country game? So, and also if you do remakes of the original trilogy, or remasters, whatever you want to call it, you can show off cutscenes. You can do cutscenes where you can show K. Rool, you know, stealing DK's bananas, or how he kidnapped DK in Donkey Kong 2, and also any cutscenes related to DKC 3, like K. Rool trapping the banana bird and stealing all her babies, and kidnapping DK and Diddy, and how Dixie found her way to this Kramatoa Island and, you know, tried to find out, hey, this is where DK and Diddy are left captive, and all that. I just think cutscenes would have helped provided better of the original trilogy, because again, the Game Boy Advance ports were the only ones that had cutscenes. Well, DKC 1 and 2 did have cutscenes to show what happened to build up to the eventual plot of the game. So I feel like, while Tropical Freeze and Returns do that, they build up the atmosphere to how the game eventually starts. I feel like DKC 3 is the only one that doesn't have this, and I feel like a remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it, on the Nintendo Switch of the original trilogy could have actually added a cutscene to what set up the storyline and what set up the story for DKC 3. These games, to me, feel like they should be remastered more than doing another version of Returns. That's how I've been feeling this way about it ever since I heard the return of Donkey Kong Country Returns, and they're putting it on the Switch, and I was like, why couldn't they just done the original trilogy? Like, why couldn't they done the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro route and do all 3 games of the original trilogy? And some of you may be thinking, well, Patrick, it's kind of simple. They can't fit 3 games in one tiny disc. They can't fit 3 massive games in one tiny chip. Well, my response to that would be, they have done it before. They've done it with Sunshine. They've done it with Sunshine, Super Mario 64, and Super Mario Galaxy. If they can fit 3 Super Mario games into one tiny chip, then they can sure as hell fit the original trilogy in a little tiny chip on the Nintendo Switch. So in my opinion, the DKC Trilogy should be the game that gets more love and more. And look, if you want to add if you want to make it feel like Returns, you can. You can go with the Returns format if you want, giving the characters hearts. If you want to go with the Returns route and give them some love hearts as extra hit points, sure, you can do that. You can do that if you want. But just don't change don't change how the gameplay is. Like, let us switch between back and forth between Diddy and Dixie and DK and Diddy and etc. But don't change the formula too much. You can add the extra hearts, like in Returns and Tropical Freeze, but other than that, I feel like a remaster and a remake of the original trilogy would be way better. It is in what, in my opinion, should be the next step if they want to continue the Donkey Kong franchise, or just make a completely brand new game. I love the Donkey Kong Country franchise, and I've been a big fan of it ever since I was younger. But I feel disappointed. I feel disappointed whenever I see that Donkey Kong goes away for so long, and then when it does come back, it's just, oh, another Donkey Kong Country Returns. Don't get me wrong, I love Donkey Kong Country Returns. I'm currently in the middle of a playthrough of it on my 3DS, on the 3DS version that I have. It's a great game, really fun and challenging, but I feel like we should be moving on from Donkey Kong Country Returns and either coming up with new Donkey Kong Country games and bring back K. Rool as the main villain, or give the nostalgia fans what they want and a remaster or a remake of the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy. It's what we deserve, and I genuinely feel that way. And again, I love Returns, great fun little game, but I feel like the original trilogy should be the next step in what they should do next, or a completely new DKC game. I hope you guys liked this video. Hit that like button if you haven't, and I will see you all in the next video.